All right, welcome back, music fans. It is I, Dave, the real music observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there and over there and me here. The story of Van Halen 3. It's been 20 years. There's a lot of hand wringing going on across the web. Why? Why did it fail? What happened? I mean, holy crap, Batman. Why did it fail? It's pretty simple. Actually, I'm gonna throw in a reason that none of these doofuses have figured out. Okay, the record industry was beginning to tank, and then of course you let go of a very popular singer. His name was Sammy Hagar. You bring in a guy, by the way, who has great chops, who I met back in, want to say, 85, when his fledgling band Extreme came up to my college and hung out on the Master of Metal radio program at the time. Didn't have a record deal. One of folks at the station actually suggested they check out A&M Records. I know that for a fact, and they got signed to A&M. So we'd like to think we had something to do with that, since A&M didn't have really any metal on their label. And they did a pretty good job promoting Extreme, because after that first album, that second album just exploded, and I didn't get any royalty checks or anything, but Gary Cherone, man, you rock. Okay, Nuno was up there. He had an entourage. So anyway, getting back to the topic here, the subject matter. Yeah, did the materials kind of suck on Van Halen 3? Yeah, there were about two or three plausible tunes that I could listen to. The one where Eddie Van Halen sings, though, nah, not so much. Wow. The only thing worse than Eddie Van Halen singing is, well, let me think about this for a moment. Probably Ross Valerie from Journey singing. Yes, that's just not right. Okay? Some people are designed to play guitar, some people are designed to sing. There are a few that can do both. Those two gentlemen might want to stick to their guitars. Of course, Ross plays a bass, and we all know Eddie plays this weird looking red electric guitar with all the lines on it. So, okay, I'm done. The point being, though, not just the material and not the fact that they've switched singers too many times, which you can do that. You've either got to go back to Dave or go back to Sammy. And the Dave reunion fake out too at MTV there, like, I'm coming back. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. And then it doesn't happen. That was just a PR stunt. It got people interested in the possibility of a Dave Van Halen record. And then Gary Cherone walks in the room and everybody's like, huh? So that was just a weird thing. And by the way, to call it Van Halen 3 is confusing, because there was a Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2. There was never numerically a Van Halen 3. So they were trying to say this is Van Halen's third lineup, or the third version, third incarnation of Van Halen. I don't know. I can't really, put a quantifier on that one. I just think it was poor marketing, lousy title. You can go through the list. But here's my primary reason, and you've watched my videos before, there's a thread running through the 1990s, and it's a sucky thread, okay? It's a thread that the music industry itself is devoted to music that is very bad. And it started with this band called Pearl Jam, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, why are you busting? I have people that say, Pearl Jam wasn't part of that. Yeah, they were. They were I don't know who began the whole movement. Pearl Jam was the first on the scene, early 90s, and then the record industry, with the success of that, and by the way, they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and foisted it, and, a lot of programmers at the time were like, this is just, I'm playing Foreigner and Van Halen and Motley Crue and stuff that rocks but has some melody to it, and you're asking me to play this, and this sounds nothing like that. It sounds angry, whereas most of the music I'm playing sounds happy. And you'll notice on this whole 3 album that I think they're trying to kind of tap into a different sound. I'm not saying the record is angry sounding, but there's no smooth, syrupy moments where you come out of the angst for a moment and then the sun comes out. There isn't much of that on this record, and I think that hurt them. But the industry itself collapsing, and in full collapse by the time this thing comes out, they're lucky they got to number 4 on Billboard, and they're lucky they sold 500,000 copies of the album, because they did, because they had curious fans who wanted to hear Gary Cherone's, kind of like the car wreck. All right, let's look at the car wreck. Wow, that's a bad accident. But I've got it on film now. You know, I've got the picture of it, and that's why a lot of people went out and bought it. Would that happen today? Absolutely not. It wouldn't happen, because there's so little interest in anything that has to do with classic or melodic rock. But back then, there was still some residual people that were hanging on to the hope that Van Halen could continue. And by the way, even though this happened later on, this still dovetails with my theory. It just took longer with Van Halen because they had Balance, and that was a great album, and everybody was like, okay, at least Van Halen is still alive. You know, Aerosmith had toppled for the most part. Yeah, Don't Want to Miss a Thing, adult contemporary song, so forth. But their mainstream rock radio days ended in like 91, 92, and they were done. You know, they didn't have stuff really climbing the charts on the mainstream rock charts. They were pretty much done. Van Halen took longer. AC/DC would come back. They'd get on there. They got on there really recently. And Van Halen, by the way, would come back with Tattoo, and they'd actually get to the top 10 reluctantly. I know the programmers were playing it, but they really didn't want to play it, because I talked to these people, and they're like, yeah, we got to play this. There's some old timers out there want it. Sounds like old Van Halen. Who'd want old Van Halen, right? Who'd want to go back in time when they could just absorb all of this 2-chord angst and these guys who can't sing or play instruments? Oh, baby. That's what I want. So, in a nutshell here, Van Halen 3 failed because you can't switch singers 3 times. You just can't do it and expect to keep the same level of success. It can happen, but it's rare, okay? And it's because the 2 other guys were so high profile. Gary is a great vocalist. He's a much lower profile, a much more humble guy. By the way, if you watch Gary in any appearance with Van Halen, he's dressed completely different. He looks out of place. You got to get somebody to say, hey, everybody, you have to kind of go out there and look a little grungy, a little, scruffy. That wasn't Gary's thing. Gary was a showman. He had style, and it didn't fit with the rest of the Van Halen brothers, and especially Mike. By the way, Michael Anthony too. You've only got him playing on 3 tracks on this album. You're phasing him out, so that didn't help the situation. And he's your high voice. He's the guy who helps you get to where you need to go on those, vocal parts. He's very important. Always will be. Dave said it and Sammy said it, so I don't know. It's kind of a no-brainer. The big thing is, out of all of it though, is the industry was squeezing this band as the band was squeezing itself out. And that's why Van Halen 3 sort of tanked. All right? That's it. That's my video. 20 years ago, Van Halen 3. Thumbs down. Don't like the record. Couple of songs are okay. That's it. I'm done. Talk to you later, everybody.